Hello everyone! Today I want to talk about weapons and components. Before 3.14 we had very meaningful stats. For example, here we have size 1 shields in 3.12 and size 2 shields in 3.12. There was a huge difference in shield HPs, in region rate, regionally damage, absorption, and so on. Same with size 2 shields. Look at this difference in shield HPs between Bamuti and Sukuran and region rate. We had meaningful choices before 3.14. This is Malokus 3.8 data. I couldn't find anything more recent, but it wasn't much different in 3.13. And look at those ranges of even size 1 weapons. 2500 meters, size 2 weapons, 2400, 2500, size 3 weapons, 2500, 2800, size 4 weapons, 4000 meters, size 5, some are above 5000 meters, ranges. Here we have Hercules DPS calculator 3.20 live. In 3.14 CRG normalized most weapon and component stats. Here you can see shields, and they all have pretty much same shield HPs with only minor differences. Size 0 shields, size 1 shields, size 2 shields. Region rate doesn't have a lot of differences either. Yes, there are still some small differences, but it's nothing like we had before 3.14. And here we have ship weapons and 3.20 live. Look at those ranges. Ignore rocket pods, 1540 meters max for most guns now. A few exceptions, but ranges are very short. This is a problem if you are, for example, sitting in a turret of a hammerhead. Max range 1540 meters, and you cannot exactly close in to your enemy sitting in the turret. So what happened? CRG released 3.14 August 6, 2021 and normalized most weapon and component stats. Component and weapon stats were not exactly well balanced before 3.14, but components and weapons had clear advantages and disadvantages. For example, before 3.14, you had choices like, do you want to use a shield generator with lots of shield HPs but low region rate? Do you want to use a shield generator with lots of shield HPs but that's very loud, has a very high signature? Or do you want to use a stealthy shield that doesn't give you a lot of shield HPs? All this is gone since 3.14. Yeah, and we had gun ranges well beyond 5000 meters. Interestingly, CRG hasn't really touched quantum drives. And this is what Yogi wrote about weapon balance back then.
We certainly won't go back to pre-3.14 weapon stats. The weapon work we did in 3.14 was mostly about getting a rough sketch of weapon archetypes in place, but we're heavily expanding on those now and are defining weapon purposes, think anti-fighter, anti-infantry, etc., and rough properties the weapons need to have to fulfill that purpose. For example, anti-fighter weapons need a rather high bullet velocity. That means we will go through every weapon in the game and deciding what purpose it needs to fulfill and then adapt the values for it. This also includes differences between weapons in the same category, like a cheap and a premium brand of an anti-fighter weapon. We also won't keep the current difference of cannons versus repeaters. That was just a temporary measure to ease up the balancing process. So you can expect anti-fighter cannons, anti-large ship Gatlings, etc., but as I said, those will appear step by step over several future releases. Hope that all makes sense.
Of course, it's perfectly fine if a game dev decides to redo weapon and component stats for a game in alpha. Like I mentioned, those were not exactly perfect before 3.14. However, if a game dev says, let's normalize most component weapon stats to start over, one would think the game dev already has new, much better stats in mind. It's a bit disturbing that 2 years later we still don't have new stats. Most component and weapon stats are still normalized, with minor differences between them. Is this a big problem for Star Citizen in year 11 in alpha? No, but it was fun to choose components and weapons for your ship, to make meaningful choices like, do I want to go stealthy or do I want to go max shield HPs because I only PvE today. We can only hope that we are getting much better stats in the future. Let me know what you think in the comments below and see you next time. Bye. Auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye. Okay. This was a kill. Hey, you're still here. You might want to join me on Twitter. My Twitter account is Camural_SC.